Hello, gorgeous humans. Welcome to the morning show. I'm your host, Marli Ansel at Marli Ansel on the Instagrams. Happy Monday. So, today we're talking about the one thing to focus on that will absolutely change everything. So, we're going to break it down today. We're going to simplify all of the things so that you know what exactly you need to be focusing on that will quite literally change your entire life. So, as I like to say, when you put all of your intention and focus in one direction, that's how we end up creating massive miracles. So, I'm going to share what that is with you today. We're going to break it all down. But how are you feeling? Happy Monday. Good morning. I'll tell you, I'm tired this morning. I don't know what it is. Could be the cosmos, could be hormonal, who knows? But I'm feeling good, just feeling, a little tired. Good morning. Hello, Amber. So today we're talking about the one thing to focus on that will quite literally change everything. I'm excited to break it down for you because I feel like when we break things down in a simpler way, our brains can kind of really get on board with it. And when your mind can get on board with something, that's when we really have the capability to start making fast change because typically our minds are the things that are causing the limitation, the block, because we've got these circuits in our brain that say, no, this is how this equals, and this is how this goes. So once we can kind of get our mind on board with things, we can really start doing some good work. Hi, Chris. Good morning. How are you? Okay, so let's dive in. Let me think about how I want to open it up. Okay, everything that you do or that you don't do is motivated by how you want to feel. Okay, that's not the one thing, but stick with me. Everything you do or don't do is motivated by how you want to feel or you wanting to avoid a certain feeling. Does this make sense? So you can break it down. Look at anything and everything in your life. Why do you do what you do? As down to the most material things, like why do you do your hair the way that you want to do your hair? Why do you dress in a certain way? It is all based on how you want to feel. And it's either in alignment with what makes me feel like my absolute best self, or it's not in alignment. Even our very practical, like business world that doesn't play in the esoterics at all, literally makes all their decisions based on how something feels. Now you might be like, no, 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 there's analytics and there's data and there's all of this stuff. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And why do they make the decisions based on the data that they see? Because it makes them feel like they're making a better, smarter decision. Everything comes down to how we feel. We can slice it and dice it any which way we want, but this is what it comes down to. So now that brings up two things. One, if you can know that everything in life is based on feeling, then the moment that you can be good with feeling, meaning whatever I feel, I understand it's a feeling and I can handle a feeling. If you can be good with that. Now this statement is so, like, the statement itself is so tiny compared to the actual action that we're talking about, but I want you to just really take this in for a second because it's going to set us up. If you can be good with a feeling, meaning I can handle what I feel, whether it's sadness, frustration, anger, joy. Sometimes we sabotage joy. Not sometimes, more often than not, we sabotage joy because we can't handle the energetic vibration of it. So if I can be good with whatever I'm feeling, recognizing that it's just a feeling and it does not actually hold meaning, I'm free. You're free. Because the moment that you can recognize that your feelings are not always indicative of what is actually happening in life, they're really not, that they are just energy flowing through your body. The moment you can recognize that, then you start to separate yourself from that emotionality. And once your consciousness is separate from how you feel, now you can start to witness the feeling rather than being led by the feeling. Okay. That's a whole other video. We're not going to go into that all the way today, but I want to give you the context and the baseline because as we understand our own system and what's happening here, we now have more power to take control of our lives, which is the whole point. Okay. So we understand feeling is the foundation of everything. Now, here is the kicker, and here is the thing. What causes feeling? Well, we never really thought about that before, did we? Immediately, probably most of the world is like, well, if something happens or something doesn't happen, it causes me to feel a certain way. Well, that's not necessarily true because you have experienced the same situation multiple times in different ways, and it probably instigated different feelings depending on how you felt that day. What was your mood? What was happening for you? What had you been thinking? Okay. So we haven't nailed it down yet, have we? What causes feeling? I know, right? So I'm going to break it down for you. Feeling is indicative of energy flow. Now, dependent on the amount of energy that you have flowing in your body, that is going to decide how you feel. Now, there are quite a few things, and we will talk about them all as much as we can today. There's quite a few things that cause either energy flow or energy stagnation. But let's break it down with some of the simplest things. If I am forcing myself every day to do things that I don't want to do, is that more energy flow or less energy flow? Just drop it in the comments, more or less. If I'm forcing myself to do things every day that I don't want to do, say I'm in a career that I hate, or I'm checking all the boxes of the should of society, is there more energy flow there or less energy flow there? Amber says less, question mark. Less, 100% less. Why? Less energy flow there because I am not in my full state of allowing my life force to really be a part of my experience. So now when you have that, are you feeling good or not good? Are you like, life is amazing? Like, I'm celebrating everything. I feel so good. Or are you like, oh dear God, another day of this, right? Less energy flow equals I don't feel so great. I'm moody. I'm edgy. I'm not happy. I'm probably living my life a whole lot in what? Scarcity, lack, which what is scarcity and lack? Less energy flow. Okay. So if I am in a state where I'm feeling fear, when I feel fear, is the energy flow more or is it less? Anytime I go into a state of fear, am I feeling more energy flow or am I feeling less energy flow? You guys can see where we're going with this. Fear is a state of constriction. Whenever I go into fear, you feel it in your body. Everything constricts in, right? Now, when I'm in a state of joy and happiness and like, everything is expanded out. So, do we see everything is determined? It all comes down to energy flow in your body. Now, you can play with this a little bit more too. Tell yourself a truth and tell yourself a lie. If you pay attention, you'll feel it in your body. You can just say, my name is Marli. You can feel like there's no obstruction to the flow. Truth. My name is Bob. Immediately, you'll feel a constriction. It's a non truth. So, this is cool too, right? Because the more that you start paying attention to everything is energy flow, you can kind of start feeling maybe when somebody's fibbing you on something, right? We have our poor children, they can't get away with anything. Because Robert and I are so sensitive that the moment that they're not telling us the truth, we feel it in our bodies, can feel the energy lessen, it constricts in. So truth is going to have a bigger energy flow. So let's say you said Bob too. That's funny. So truth is going to have more energy flow. So now let's think about that in terms of how we're living our life. If I'm living in alignment with my truth, I am going to have the most energy flow that I can have. When I have more energy flow, like we're talking about just vitality, life force energy flowing through you. But am I going to be healthier or sicker with more energy flow? Am I going to be vibrant or dimmed with more energy flow? Am I going to be excited about what I have to do for the day? Or am I going to be dreading what I have to do for the day? Everything comes down to how much energy we have flowing through our bodies. Now, I'm not talking about like our societies, like caffeine gives me energy and things like that. That's not actual energy. That's just false stimulation that helps us for a couple of hours when we don't have good energy flow. You feel me on this? So it all comes down to how is the energy flowing through your body? Now, we've been spending about a month now on the nervous system and talking about how energy flows through the nervous system. Those of you who did the free master class, you got a crash course in this. When our nervous system is healthy, and it is flowing, the energy can flow here to there throughout the entire body with ease. When our nervous system is in a strong state and it's not all blocked up, the way that you're going to feel is calm, grounded, vitality, excited. You're going to be able, like, whatever challenge life throws at you, it doesn't knock you down. You're like, let's go, because you have the life force for it. Does this make sense? Okay, let's see. Desi says, what do you do when you're in a season with less energy, aka going into work, sucking your energy? Just put up a protective bubble as I walk into work. Yeah, so I see what you're saying. So if you are having to go to a job that's not your jam, right? It's like, I hear you, Marley, but like I got bills to pay. So like I've got to do this job right now, even though I'm not loving it and I do feel like it's sucking me dry. So the transition with that, and I've worked with so many women who have had to do this, is you have to stop you giving your energy out to that thing. Because when we do things that we don't really love to do, it's like your energy going into a black hole. It's not being returned to you. So when you're on your aligned path, all of the energy that you put back will amplify. It's like it comes back almost immediately to you. It's like the more you work, the more energy you have. That's what being on our aligned path feels like. But when you're having to go to a job because whatever, life has dealt you a set of cards that maybe you've got something that you've got to learn in this position right here, right now, the first thing we have to do is one, we've got to stop rejecting it. Acceptance is always the first key to changing anything. I cannot move past what I am rejecting because as I reject it, I'm stuck with it. We don't have a starting point, right? So the moment that you accept exactly where you are, that's the moment that you have the key to then transcend it. So I've got to accept where I'm at because also think about this. If you're constantly putting out that like, it's just perpetuating the situation, right? So you've got an energy leak of energy going out into this cycle pattern of life that you don't want to be feeding. So everything comes back to you. Okay. So if I have energy going out and it's draining me, there's two things you've got to look at here. One, what's the story I'm telling myself about it? Because that story is the energy leak. I know a lot of times, like you said here, putting up the protective bubble and all of that. Yes, and I think it's good to do that if you feel other people pretty intensely, but a better thing to do is to build your energetic system. Because the stronger your energy is, the more you are going to dominate anywhere you go. By dominate, I mean your vibration becomes the one that shifts the room rather than you being shifted by the room. Does that make sense? So as we're building this inner energetic system, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, you got to tune in to what is the story I'm making up, because there's a negative spiral story if every day you're going to work and you're feeling like you hate it. There's something there that you're telling yourself that is not working in your favor. It could be like, I shouldn't be here. Like, I'm thinking back to mine, like, This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I shouldn't be here. I should be further along. I should be doing something that matters. There was this story that was playing out all the time, and it was a story that was making me wrong. Now, what's cool about this, and I know it doesn't sound very cool, but like what is cool about it is that once you recognize the negative spiral story, you will recognize that core wound that's been asking you to heal it. Because our negative spiral stories, they change their flavor, they change their color, they'll even change their storyline, but the core of it is always the same. And it's always going to come back to something that you're making wrong about yourself, something you're telling yourself around that you're less than, you're not enough, everyone else is better than you in some way. There's something there. And that is the root that keeps sprouting the same story, but in different situations, right? So it could have been in a relationship, and now it's sprouting up with a boss at work, and now it's sprouting up in your career, now it's sprouting up in your health. It's like everyone else has got this figured out, but not me. It's always going to come back to that root story. So we want to get super, super hyper aware of that, because that is the story that's being asked to transmute. That's going to free you and not hold you down in that anchored state where you're constantly repeating the same pattern. Does that make sense? So, what was the other thing I said we were going to break down further? It all comes down to energy flow. Oh, yes. So in this process, you're going to identify that story. That's your inner work, your personal work. But on an everyday basis, what you've got to do is not send out these energetic attachments or cords to what's happening. So you got to kind of watch it in terms of, say you go to work and you're surrounded by a lot of negative people, right? And you're like, oh my gosh. And you're feeling the negativity of it. Every time that you judge someone who's negative, every time that you judge something that someone around you is doing, or you judge the job, you're attaching yourself to it. Does that make sense? Because you're sending out energy to it. So anytime that you have any kind of emotional reaction to anything, it sends out a cord of attachment. So what we want to do is reel all that back in, because that's not something you want to tie yourself down to, right? That is setting up negative karma for yourself to have to repeat until you get it. And we don't want that, right? What we want to do is recognize it for what it is. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for a reason. Nobody else kind of really matters in that. Like, yes, people are going to give you lessons that you need. They're going to show you parts of yourself that you need to see, because we live in that mirrored universe. But you're here for a reason. And so your job is to seek out the reason. And this is where it comes down to our foundational belief system. Because if I truly believe everything is happening for me in some way, then my only job is to get the gold. Like, where's the gold in this? What is this doing for me? I've got to find it. Because the moment I find the gold, you transmute it. And the transmutation is the magic, right? Because once I'm in a situation and I've got my switched up mindset, where I've got the perspective that even if I don't really like it, like, by the way, you don't have to like it. Like, I think we really kind of overrate liking things, like you don't have to like it. Like, you don't have to go to a job and try to willpower gratitude for it. Like, you don't have to do that. You can be in your authenticity of like, I really don't like this. I really don't like it. But I understand I'm here for a purpose. There's got to be a greater purpose, because nothing happens because you messed up or because you did something wrong or whatever. Those are probably some of those negative spiral stories you've got to look at. But you're here for a purpose. You're here for a reason. And if I truly believe that everything in this universe is supporting my highest good, then my only job is to find that. You make it like a treasure hunt. You see what I'm saying? Do you see how automatically it's already lifting the heavy energy off of it? It's like, oh, okay, there's some gold here for me. Okay, what is the gold? Because the universe and our divine mechanism, God, whatever it is that you want to call it, that you speak to, knows what we want better than we do. Like, knows things that can happen, that can get rearranged, that can put us in the right place at the right time with the right people better than we do. We do not have control over the mechanisms of how everything comes together. I think a lot about the stories coming up for me. When Robert and I first moved in together, we did a 5-year script board, which I can kind of break that down really quickly. Essentially, we write down everything we want to experience in the next 5 years, like everything you want to experience, right? Not achieve, not, like tick off, but like, what do you want to experience? What are some things that you want to have the experience of? And we just like write it all out. Well, then we just intuitively kind of map it. Like when is it going to happen over the next 5 years? And it's really just fun because you're kind of playing this predictive thing, but you're also getting super clear on the pathway that you want your life to take. Well, one of the things that Robert had written down was that he was going to be out of that corporate job that he was in by October of that year. Or was it the next year? October of 2020. Yes. And so we just left it. And that's all you do is you write it down and you leave it. Because it's like a manifestation board or like a vision board, but with writing. So within the next year, he actually ended up getting promoted. So from all like objective, logical stances, it's like he went deeper in. That's the wrong direction, right? Like that's not getting out, that's going deeper in. But we flow because the way that the universe sets things up for us is a way that we could never imagine. And it's always going to work out better than what you could have planned, right? So he gets promoted. He's a boss, he's a leader, he's very good at what he does. So he does his job, right? Well, as we know, we went into 2020, the whole world shut down. So he's working from home, all of these things, right? Well, within that year, because of the shutdown and companies having to let people go and all of that, he got offered voluntary severance, meaning if you would like to leave, we will pay you to do it. The only reason he got offered that instead of just being laid off like a lot of the company was because he had gotten that promotion. You feel me on this? So we don't always know. We rarely know. Like the more that we can sit here and just really get clear that we know nothing, the better life is going to end up because there are things in play that you could never plan and you could never put in place. So it becomes super important in the moment to embrace and accept what is and why the universe has placed you here because you don't actually know where it's leading. But you do know that it's beyond your comprehension of anything you could put together. So when we have that mentality, and this is the kicker, when you have that mentality that this is happening for me and I must be here for a purpose and a reason. So my only job is to find the gold. You become energetically available for finding that path. If you are in rejection to what's happening, it's like, here's your path, and you're just turned this way. You won't even see it. Because if I'm in rejection, I'm not looking for the gold. I'm not looking for the pathway. But if I'm in acceptance and I realize that everything is happening for me on time and on purpose, I'm going to start looking for the pathway. And that's when you become an energetic match for finding it. Does that make sense? So automatically, do you feel the shift that happened in our bodies? Just telling you it might not even be your story, but in just listening to going from, I really hate going to this job every day. It's negative. It's awful. I shouldn't be here. Blah, 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 blah. You feel it in your body. I feel it. Right. To, I must be placed here for a purpose. The universe has my plan already in place and working out. There must be gold in this for me. I must find the way that is showing me my exact highest path. All I've got to do is find it. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. There's gold in this for me. You feel the expansion, more energy flow. So everything comes down to more energy flow. You want to think about this in terms of vibration. The highest vibrational frequencies, joy, love, happy, gratitude, excitement, have more energy flowing through them. It's a faster flow. It's a faster vibration. When we talk about lower energies, and mind you, there's no bad energy. It's just a rate of vibration. When you're up here, it's vibrating really quickly. When you're down here with guilt, shame, fear, all of those things, it's vibrating very slowly, less energy flow. Does that make sense? So everything comes down to what gives me that more energetic flow? Okay, so now here, let's simplify it even further. When you follow what brings you joy, when you follow excitement, what are you doing? You are quite literally taking the steps, following the path of more energetic flow. Now, we don't trust it though, do we? Because we're not raised this way. We're raised in a society that is fear mongered into, our making of our own prison instead of trusting our own energetic flow. What feels like open flow? I'm going to tell you this, and I know that this is like a leap. It's a leap, but this is the goal. If every day, in every moment, with every move, you ask yourself, what within the confines of what you've got to do, right? Because it's not like our universe, God, angels are not going, yes, I understand you need to pay your bills and take care of your children, but you need to go do this over there. Like, it's not like that. You know what I mean? Like, we are fully supported in the life that we're currently living. It's not telling you to neglect your children or neglect your bills, right? It's like very aware that you need to do these things. So, but if in every moment of every day, within the confines of what you got to do, if you instead of rejecting and resisting and feeling that like deprivation of, "Oh, God, my day," instead of that, if you go, okay, I've got all of this on my plate, I've got all of this I've got to do, what feels the most open, fun, and exciting out of all the things I need to do right now? And if you follow that, that's going to naturally lead you to the next step, the next step, the next step. And it's going to happen in a way that unfolds it easier, more in flow, and you're going to enjoy it more than if you sat there with your to-do list and you made it this big arduous thing where you're like, "Oh my God, I'm going to die doing all of these things." Right? So does this click for you guys? More energy flow. What gives you energy? That's the pathway with everything that you are doing. The more energy flow you have going through your body, the better you're going to feel. More vitality, more energy for life because it's literally life force energy, more excitement, strength, vitality. You're going to look better, like the skin's going to glow, the hair's going to look good. This is why when we see people that look good, we're like, "Oh, they look so healthy." Why? Or you could see somebody who's trying to look good, but they're not doing the inner vitality work. They're just doing the outer work, right? And you can see that and you can be like, I mean, like, I see all the things, but there's like this deadness to them. There's not a vitality, there's not an energy. Everything comes down to our energetic flow. So, in tying this to our whole nervous system subject that we've been talking about for a good month here, when you repair the nervous system for that full flow, you're going to feel better. You're going to have more vitality. You're going to have energy for your life and then some. You're going to trust the flow of life because the flow of energy in your body is happening. Make sense? Or when we have those energetic blocks and those limitations that are blocking the flow, I wanted to say like three things at once right there. Okay. We are not taught how to move energy in our body, especially when it comes to our feelings and emotions. It's going to tie all the way back to the beginning of today's episode. When you suppress emotion, you create a block. That's just what it is. The more blocks you have in your body, the more physical symptoms you're going to see. Weight gain, clogged arteries, autoimmune disorders, depression, anxiety. Like, the more energy blocks you've got going on, the more health problems you're going to have, the less energy flow you have. And that's what's going to cause those build up of health problems and diseases and not having energy and all of that. When we know how to move the energy out of the body, which in Miracle Matrix, we're intentionally doing the work to move it, but then I'm also going to give you the tools to be able to handle the capacity of your own feelings so that you don't set up more energy blocks. Does that make sense? So we want the flow, we want to clear out the flow, like get the boulders out of the river, And then we also want to learn the tools to not put them back in the second you leave one of my coaching containers, right? We want the capability and the ability to feel what we feel and not suppress it, to express it, so that that life force energy flow is happening all the time seamlessly. So the more energy flow that we have, the more rich our life is going to be. We're going to feel that magic. We're going to feel that abundance because it's an abundance of energy that's flowing through you. And if you have an abundance of energy that's flowing through you, and we live in a world that mirrors you to you, what do you think your life is going to look like? A natural, abundant flow. It is our natural way. But when we're all blocked up or we're burnt out and we've got all these broken highway systems in our nervous system, it can feel like we're stuck. I can't tell you how many women I've talked to over the last few weeks who have been interested in the Miracle Matrix. And this is the number one thing they say: stuck and like I'm hitting a wall over and over and over again. And the reason for that is that there are broken down highways in your nervous system where the energy flow just can't go, and or there are blocks in the river, in the system, where the energy is getting blocked, so the energy flow isn't happening and it makes you feel stuck. Again, it's not your fault in terms of no one has taught you this. You know what I mean? Like, we're not taught that it's about energy flow. We're not taught that it's about what's happening inside of us. We're taught work harder, push further. Well, if you have a broken down nervous system, pushing further is only going to lead you into a breakdown. Like, we're talking face in the carpet, crying, I don't know what to do with my life, like literal breakdown. So it's all about nurturing and healing the inside, cleaning out the blocks, increasing the flow. So once we have a healed nervous system, and this is the process that I'm taking you guys through that are in the Miracle Matrix experience. By the way, we're starting tomorrow. There are 4 spots left that as I have right now, I haven't checked it today, but as I know, there are 4 spots left if you want to join us in that Miracle Matrix experience. Inside there, the process I'm taking you through is repair. So it's repairing the nervous system, all those burnt out, broken down places where you've pushed yourself too hard, you've taken on too much, you've pushed yourself to the point of a breakdown. We're going to start repairing those systems. Then we're going to do release, which is removal of the energy blocks. And within that same section of our process, I'm going to be teaching you how to hold space for your own emotional capacity without making it mean things and making yourself wrong and all of those things. I'm going to teach you how to hold space for emotion, both your own and other people's. And then we hit the tipping point. And this is really, really cool because once you've repaired and you've released, now you can start strengthening it. Now, strengthening it looks like you're starting to take on a little bit more in life, but it's stuff that you actually want to be doing because we're no longer forcing. We're no longer pushing ourselves past the point of our capacity. We're no longer dishonoring our soul, which is a huge part of what breaks down our nervous system. That if you've been decades of just pushing yourself, doing things that you don't actually want to be doing, your nervous system is in shambles. Okay, it is. So once we repair and we release, now we can start strengthening the system. That looks like adding things in. This is what I call adding the magic that instigate joy, that instigate more flow. So anything you love to do is going to instigate more energy flow in your body because it feeds you. Now, before you repair and release, trying to add things in that you love can feel overwhelming. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's just almost like another thing to do. You're like, I don't have time for that though. Like, I wish I could do that, but I don't have time. I can't. Like, it's overwhelming. And it's simply because the system doesn't have the capacity to handle what you're handling right now. So once we do the repair and the release work, then we start strengthening it. And then we start expanding it. And this is where the fun manifestation practices come in. This is where you start playing with life. You start getting into that co-creative magic and miracles vibe. So as you move through this process, you see it's kind of like this seesaw where we're taking you out of that stuck, blocked up, hitting a wall state. And we're starting to put you into that more natural flow state. This is why you hear everywhere in the spiritual world, personal development. Our natural state is flow. Our natural state is abundance. And if that's not where you're at, you're sitting there like, great. I don't feel that. Thanks. Right? Because it is frustrating if you're in a space where you're feeling stuck, you're feeling like you're hitting a wall, you're in that constant loop of fear and scarcity and not enough and thinking something's wrong with you. And your mind goes, the only way out is to push harder. But even the thought of pushing harder makes you want to break down. It's not the way. It's not the way. We've got to repair the system. We've got to release the blocks. And then the tipping point is that's when you start adding in that magic, that golden frequency of life that you want to be living in. And then we can expand beyond that into new levels. So, this is what we're doing over 3 months in the Miracle Matrix experience. If you're interested in that, we start tomorrow. There's 4 spots left, and today, tomorrow-ish is the last day to sign up for it. So tomorrow, the link is gonna switch over to a wait list, and we will close enrollment. So if you are feeling this and you wanna come do it with me, I invite you to come do it with me. This is a beta container, meaning you're gonna get a really phenomenal price and a whole lot of value. So inside of it, we're gonna have the trainings, the practices, the integrations, but also you're gonna get a one-on-one call with me every month. And we're doing 2 group calls every month. So it's gonna be just a full immersion into you becoming your best and highest self. It's going to be about you healing that state. And I always say this, and I just think it's really important to say this because our like normal way of healing the inner world is through talk therapy. No shame on talk therapy. Talk therapy is fantastic, but talk therapy can end up taking a long time. When you start to work with the energetic roots and the emotions of things, and you're intentionally moving the energy with in tandem with shifting 1 millimeter switches in what you're doing in your day, this process happens quickly. Like if you're ready for it and you're open to it and you're not all blocked up in your resistance, this process happens really quickly and it's so fun to watch it. Like I had a private client who I just did a 30-day intensive with, and her testimonial was like, you literally helped me heal 13 years of this same looping experience in 30 days. So I say that not because I'm not trying to impress you or anything like that, but what I want you to know is that if you felt stuck for a long time, it's not going to take a long time to get you out of it. Okay. It takes as long as you resist it. The moment you stop resisting it and you're ready to make those moves to do it differently, you're going to see a change in your life very, very quickly. Cool. All right, my love. So, energy flow, energy flow. Focus on your energy flow, and it will completely change your entire reality. Amen. I love you guys so much. If this resonated with you today, please hit the likes and the subscribes and all of the things. Please share it with a friend who maybe needs to hear this. Let's heal this world. Let's do it together. We do it first with ourselves and then we share and we put the work out to others. People are going to start asking you, like, what's different about you? Like, you're glowing. You look so good. You can start sharing the work too as you embody it within yourself. I love you. I will see you here. We'll be back Wednesday for another episode of the morning show. And if you're coming into the Miracle Matrix experience, now is your time. We start tomorrow. This is your last call because I'm not going to talk about it on Wednesday. Last call to come into the next 3 months, totally dedicated and focused on healing you from the inside out to become your best and highest and be an energetic match for miracles. I love you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Goodbye, my loves.